Let's see here. I'm doing a little bit of streaming here. I'm just getting my computer all set up while I get started. I'm going to get to a point where I can see maybe potential comments coming through, which will be cool. Got the little chat window open and everything. And we are streaming. So, hi everybody. I'm Jason Brenizer. I am the host of the Phenomenal Future podcast. I'm also running the Phenomenal Future project, which is a little bit beyond that podcast, where we're going to be producing all kinds of amazing content for people, education, have some online courses, and in general, just getting the word out for artists mostly on why the blockchain, NFTs, and smart contracts are super powerful to help them reach a huge audience, grow their audience, keep them engaged over a long period of time, and by cutting out a lot of the middlemen in the process, being able to make a wonderful, phenomenal living from their art. That's the goal. Today, I want to talk about the power of consistency. So here I am on day 4 of a plan to do 365 live streams on a variety of platforms for me to actually figure out how to get good and get used to being on camera and everything, and being able to provide really amazing content. I figured I'm the kind of guy who likes to over prepare and have everything planned out with all kinds of I'm a spreadsheet guy. I love to write. I've written novels before. That takes a lot of effort. I believe in the power of words, but that has held me back from producing video content, which is something I know a lot of people really enjoy. And so I've decided that rather than doing this amazing preparation up front and thinking it has to be this giant production, that I would be able to just jump on here, have a vague idea of what I want to cover, and get good at thinking on the top of my head. And producing some quality content that way. So you're going to see me raw here. You're going to see me stumble. You're going to see me fall and get confused and not make sense. And every once in a while, hopefully a little bit of a gem shines through the murky waters that I'm going to be presenting. And over time, I'm expecting that I'm going to improve. And that old adage, practice makes perfect, while not exactly true, practice certainly makes you a hell of a lot better. So that's my plan. I'm getting out of my own way and trying to jump on here and produce content for people. So today I'm talking as much about myself as I am talking about anybody out there who is trying to create in the world. Creators, artists are always trying to push the boundaries. They're always trying to see what's next. How they can do something that's new and fresh, and that living on the edge, that living on the boundaries is uncomfortable. And so we need to figure out ways to, again, short circuit that means for getting into the creative flow of things. So this power of consistency is huge, and that's why I'm doing this every day. Like, I could say that I could batch job it and try to record 4 of these one day and then just kind of release them as I go along. But it's not quite as uncomfortable as doing it live with no plan. So I'm setting myself up for discomfort and pushing through that to have that experience, because there will be times, just like for a musician who gets on stage and they have a terrible, maybe the singer has something really awful going on with their throat and they're not going to be able to hit the high notes that day, or there's something terrible going on in their home life and yet they have a gig. People have paid hundreds of dollars to come to this show and the show must go on, right? So this is a way to practice when it doesn't count, so that when the moments of peak performance and stress all hit at once, that you can still do your job and really, relate to people and touch them in a really strong way. So along with this power of consistency, one of the things that I was just thinking about before I turned this live video on was the power of compounding interest. Now, I start talking about potential money issues, and a lot of people might just check out. They don't want to learn that kind of stuff. The math is not complicated, but I want to tell you a little story that is, I think, will do a great job of elucidating what exactly I'm talking about with this idea of compounding interest. So I'm going to ask you a question here. What if I told you that I would give you $1 million right now, or the amount of a penny doubled every day for a month? Which one of those options would you choose? Now, you may believe that, of course, I wouldn't ask you this question if it wasn't going to lead in a certain direction that was surprising. But I think a lot of people would still immediately, their immediate sense would be, give me the $1 million, let's put it in my bank account today. And honestly, when I first heard this, even though I have a huge math background, I probably would have chosen that $1 million today instead of waiting 30 days to see what those pennies do for me. So the story that I like to say is it's the grain of rice fable. And this question that I asked you is based on this famous fable. It's often called this grain of rice fable, or the rice and the chessboard. And it goes something like this. I think there was some time in India, a long time ago, there was a king who ruled. He loved playing chess, and he enjoyed challenging others in his realm to play. So when a visiting sage, wise man came through, the king challenged the sage to a chess game, like he does with most people that come through that would be notables. And the king told the sage he would wager any reward that the sage could imagine. I guess he was pretty confident about his chess skills. So the sage took the king up on his offer, but he requested a surprising reward. He said all he wanted was rice. Of course, the king was like, rice? Well, this is going to be easy. That's not much of a wager at all. Of course, the sage asked for rice in a very specific way. He said, okay, if I win, you, the king, will put one rice grain on the chessboard's first square, and then you will double the amount for every subsequent square on the chessboard. Okay, so the king considered the request, he happily obliged, and the two played, and as the story goes, the sage won. And true to his word, the king ordered a servant to bring out a huge bag of rice, and the king laid one grain of rice on the first square, and then he laid 2 on the second square, and 4 on the third square, etc., etc., etc. And eventually the king realized he was going to have a problem. He didn't have enough rice on hand, not just in that bag, but other bags, to fulfill the request for all 64 squares. 64 times this rice, single rice grain was doubled. In fact, the king didn't have enough rice in his whole kingdom to satisfy the need. So by the 15th square, not the 64th, the king would have had to place 16,384 grains of rice. By the 25th square, now we're at almost 17 million grains of rice. The final square, let's see, that is 18, followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 zeros. 18 followed by 18 zeros. It's more than 200 billion tons of rice, or enough to cover the entire country of India with a meter of rice. So as the king began to realize what the reward was going to entail, the sage humbly told the king that there was no need to pay his reward right away. The king could pay him over time. And that's what the king did. And the sage lived out the rest of his days as the richest man in the world. So we're not really going to go behind the math too much behind this fable. Suffice it to say, this is an example of exponential growth, where things magnify, multiply not linearly, but exponentially. It's pretty amazing. So now we go back to that first question that I asked you. Do you want the $1 million, or do you want the penny then doubled every day for 30 days? Okay. If you're rethinking your answer, yeah, you're right on with this, because doing that in 30 days, you'd have $5,368,709. Pretty amazing, right? I'm not going to show this graph. You get the idea here. This really is, I wanted to give you this example to help you understand what doing a little bit of something over time has a synergistic effect. So this works for anything that you're trying to accomplish in life, all right? We think of this in just terms of, most of the time, we think of this in terms of money. But imagine if you're out there and you're trying to find just the perfect significant other. Well, you could just wait and wait and wait and wait and not go on dates and not be out there searching and not doing that. And how lucky are you going to get? It's not going to be that lucky. But imagine you're constantly interacting with new people. You're putting yourself in situations where you're meeting new people, but you're also meeting the same people again and again. They're really getting to know you, and they're suggesting their possible friends that might be a good match for you, and it continues to go on and on and on. And this way, every two, you're one person, you tell two people, those two people tell four people, those four people tell 8 people, 16 people, 32 people. You get the idea. You see, so growing a network is a massive way to accelerate into the kinds of things that you're really looking to accomplish in your life. So significant other, if you're getting good at writing, doing writing every day, it's not just a incremental little bit better every day. You're going to be reading, you're going to be writing, you're going to be getting feedback from other people, and you're going to accelerate your learning and your capabilities. If you're a musician and you're doing composition or performance, again, it's very much the same thing. You're going to be learning new techniques and things, and different techniques will combine in ways that will multiply your abilities and really open up the possibilities of what you're up to. Public speaking is a good example. Also, this is a huge one, of course. This one is directly related to the math. If you are an artist and you're trying to build an audience, if you're trying to get new clients, if you're a luxury brand, if you're trying to turn all of those people into raving fans, of course, the idea of being able to reach out to them on a regular basis, like I'm doing with you, of course, I'm modeling that behavior, or at least trying to here right at the beginning of my day 4 out of 365, that you could grow an audience in this exponential form. So at the beginning, it's a very subtle shift. It's like getting someone on an email list. You make a website and you want people to sign up because you want to be able to send them a newsletter or help them know when you have a new offer, a new album coming out, or whatever it is, a new book. And you get one person to sign up. Oh my God, you're so happy, you got your first person. And then a week later, now you have 2 people. And then those 2 people turn into 4 people. Well, eventually, if you're sending out the newsletter to these people and they're starting to really interact with what you have, they're going to start sharing what you're up to, because, well, if they chose to jump on your bandwagon and become part of your tribe, your work becomes a part of who they are and what they value, and they're naturally going to talk about that and help get the word out. And so you will eventually see, all of a sudden, in a few months, you've gone from just this trickle of people coming in those first 30 days, and you're like, I have 40 people on my email list, and all of a sudden you're at 1,000, and then you're at 10,000, and then you're 100,000. It really does work that way, and it requires you to be in the game consistently, a little bit, every day. I'm not saying that you have to spend 4 or 5 hours on this on a daily basis. I'm here on this video. I have everything set up now in my office here, and I just hit the button and I'm recording. And when I'm done with my recording, because I'm streaming live, this automatically goes up to 4 different places where I'm streaming, 4 different platforms. So I've created a system, very simple system, to be able to do a short amount of time per day and be able to reach more people. And that's what I'm asking you to do, or asking you to think about. So when later down the line, I'm going to be talking about marketing and sales, and most people think, if they're just not born into it, sales is a 4-letter word, a bad word, right? Only slimy, smarmy, icky people do that kind of stuff. Well, I'm going to show that that's not true. Okay, I'm going to break through your limiting beliefs about what's possible around marketing and sales, and help you understand that it's not enough to go make the things. It's not enough to create. If you create in a vacuum, it's going to sit in a vacuum. No one will read your books. No one will listen to your music. You need to find a way for them to choose to be engaged on a regular basis, because they only have so much time and energy to devote to the things that they love, and they want to know it's worth their time. And so having you as an artist be putting yourself out there, you personally, or the persona that you've created around your art, there is that, okay? Although a little transparency and vulnerability goes a long way for people to trust you and really feel connected to you. That's where we're shifting here in the new world, because there's so much just information out there that we have to go above and beyond information and create connection and create a true relationship with those people for them to feel like it's worth their while, worth their time, worth their effort. So I want to throw this out there too. Because I used to think about this. I was doing a little bit of acting in independent films, some screenwriting. I directed a few things. I dipped my toes in the water of filmmaking. And I had a blast, and it was great. And I didn't move to Los Angeles, or I didn't go to New York. And if you're not going to do that in the United States, it's kind of really hard to make a career of that. It was just a personal choice, okay? Also, it's a really hard thing to break through, right? Because there's so many people trying to do that. That's one of the things about the arts that is tough. You really have to scrape and claw your way to make it. And now I look at, an actor who seemingly came out of nowhere and was in a leading role in a film, and their career just exploded, okay? I think a good example right now, someone that's my age, just a few years older than I am, Josh Brolin, okay? His first film that I remember him from was in 2007, and it was No Country for Old Men, all right? It was a movie with Tommy Lee Jones and Javier Bardem and a whole bunch of people we all recognize. And yet he had this massive role in this film, and I thought, where did this guy come from? I mean, other than the fact that his dad was James Brolin and his stepmom is Barbra Streisand, and he was around the industry and everything. But that's a long time for, if he started when he was young. So I went back to IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, and I looked. I was curious. Like, did he come out of nowhere? Was he an overnight success? Well, no. His first film and TV roles and all that stuff, he was a kid. He was in the Goonies in the 80s, okay, in the 1980s, and it wasn't until 2007 where he became a real headliner. There was one TV show that was picked up for 10 episodes and was canceled in maybe the early 2000s or something like that. But so he had been a guest star on a whole bunch of TV shows and these tiny little parts in movies that whole time, working on his craft. And he was an insider, right? His dad was a big TV star, and his stepmom, obviously, one of the biggest singers in the world, and also actresses as well, very acclaimed. And it took him that long to really break through and find his voice, find out who he was as an actor to really start making a big splash. So when you think of anybody, musicians, artists, writers, you think that they've come out of nowhere and they have it. They have it, whatever that is. No, they worked on it. They consistently worked on their craft and no one saw it. That was what got them ahead. And that's what will get you ahead. This idea of sitting down with your instrument and doing your scales or playing that song again and again and again till you find the right note at the right time, work it out with the band, or if you're writing that novel, it's the rewrite. You might have draft 3 before you put that novel out. And it's that consistency that you're putting in every day to really hone your craft, and also consistency every day to start really connecting with your fans, with your customers, with your clients, with your audience. So that's what I have for you today. I just wanted to step back a little bit from, talking about nuts and bolts with blockchain and NFTs and smart contracts, but this is related to that. This is very much related to that, because one of the things that technology is going to put in your hands is this ability to really engage with your audience and turn them into raving fans. You have to understand that it's not just going to be a magical money machine where you pull a lever and all the money just comes rushing out like you were at Las Vegas. It's still going to require work. And that's okay, because all of the things in life that are worth it require you to dig in and put a lot of effort into it. Otherwise, it wouldn't feel, if it just kind of fell in your lap, I don't know, you might not stick with it. Something about having to work on something really hard and then making it turn into a success that will make you feel a real sense of fulfillment and this concept of how the hell did I do that? But oh my God, I did. Surprise yourself in how consistent you can be, and you will see exponential compounding interest in the things that you're trying to do in your life. Well, that's what I wanted to cover today. Like I said, off the cuff, that's what I'm doing here. I'm putting myself out there. Phenomenal future project, phenomenal future podcast. If there were things that resonated with you today, I'd love to see it in the comments. If there are other topics that you would like me to cover in future episodes of live streams here as we go through this over the next year, hopefully I get more and more people along this journey with me. And please share it with people that you think could really benefit from what I'm offering here. I really do want to reach people and help artists really turn passion into success and total fulfillment. And I want you to have a phenomenal career where your art and your passion is giving you a really comfortable life and an amazing connection with all of your fans, really having a sense that you're having an impact in the world. So until tomorrow, I will say adios from Texas. Bye.